Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker and distinguished sponsor, and of course to our Department of Agriculture family. Good afternoon to all of you. I would like to ask, would the distinguished sponsor yield to some questions from this representation?
Mr. Speaker, it would be a privilege for us to be able to yield and answer the concerns of our esteemed colleague.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and of course to our esteemed sponsor. As we know, the SIDA law, actually this was what I had discussed during our last briefing with our Department of Agriculture. The SIDA law mandates 2 billion pesos, an appropriate amount, and appropriates an annual appropriation of 2 billion pesos. But the SRA, our Sugar Regulatory Administration, has consistently received less than this since 2016, receiving only 50% or 1 billion pesos. Madam Chair, may I ask, why is this the case? Why are we not following the mandated appropriations of the SIDA law? And has this mandated amount actually ever been given in full during any of the previous years?
Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, we understand your concern. However, the DBM is not releasing funds.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Despite various representations by the department.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Madam Chair. Recently, actually, I'm sorry to hear about the DBM not releasing the funds, but from what I know, during our Department of Appropriations BARC, there was an increase of 2.4 billion pesos to our SRA, no? But is my understanding correct that this entire amount, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. So the current proposal is 1 billion pesos, and during our BARC or the budget amendment reviews, we were able to add an extra 1.4 billion pesos to this. But is my understanding correct that this entire additional budget will be allocated solely to the FMR, Farm to Mill Roads Program?
That is one of the suggestions that will be funded. But yes, from previously 1 billion, we are now 2.4 billion. I'm happy to report this.
I'm also very happy to hear this, no, Madam Chair, because I'm sure we're both on the same page when it comes to increasing the funds for our SRA. My concern, so, Mr. Speaker, is that if this entire 1.4 billion pesos is allocated solely to FMR, it's going to bring the FMR budget to about 1.9 billion pesos, if I'm not mistaken, which is about 79% of the total budget. And, you know, the SIDA, if I'm not mistaken, has certain allocations, no, 50% for the FMRs, 15% for other, different percentages for other programs. And so, will this not disproportionately, will this disproportionate allocation not affect the other programs of the SIDA, of the SRA? Kasi parang lumalabas po dito, Madam Chair, 79% na ang mapupunta sa FMR. Tama po ba ito?
Mr. Chair, your proposition is actually correct. And we will be adjusting other programs to reflect the new funding and to make sure that they are adequately supporting all our sugar producers. And not only concentrated on farm-to-mill roads. So we'll be adjusting different other programs to be able to.
This is good
yes,
news.
And we will be following the allocation based on the law.
This is very good news, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Because I was very concerned, no? Kasi ang alam ko yung mga scholarships natin talagang natatamaan, yung ating mga farm block programs, yung ating mga socialized funding. So I'm very happy to hear, Madam Chair, that we will be following the correct allocated earmarked allocations. Especially because, of course, the vision of President Ferdinand Marcos is to revitalize the sugar industry by increasing farm yield to eventually make the country one of the major suppliers of sugar to the world. And so, Madam Chair, I am aware, of course, that there are still many people who would like to ask questions, and discovering now that we will be following the correct allocations, I will yield to the our next speaker. But before I do, Mr. Speaker, if I may be allowed to give my closing remarks. Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, esteemed colleagues and partners, let us be reminded of one fundamental truth. The strength of our nation rests on the strength of our farmers. They are the backbone of our food security and the stewards of our land. Allocating a significant portion of our national budget to farmers is not merely an expense but an investment. Every peso we place in our farmers multiplies into better yields, stronger rural economies, and more resilient communities. When we provide them with the tools, technologies, and support they need, farming does not grow gradually, it grows exponentially. I earnestly hope that in this year's budget, as well as in the future budget of the Department of Agriculture and the Sugar Regulatory Administration, that we provide them with the appropriate budget allocation to ensure that all farmers get the help that they need. If we are to achieve true food security, reduce our dependence on imports, and make the Philippines a leader in agricultural productivity, then we must ensure that farmers are given not just enough, but the best possible support. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I strongly manifest my full support to the proposed budget increase to the Department of Agriculture and the SRA, and even urge this august body to consider an additional budget allocation to the SRA, considering that it has not received its mandated budget allocation since the enactment of the SIDA law in 2016. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and to Madam Chair. Thank you to our distinguished sponsor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And mabuhay po ang ating sugar industry.